So the Pat McAfee angle went down on Friday, and this was all the talk of. It's amazing how this Vince McMahon story, all of a sudden Pat McAfee happens, and it just completely. And tonight we're able to reference Vince McMahon in our promos again. It's like everything's back to normal, right?
Are you suggesting something?
I'm just saying that people have very short attention spans, and as soon as a big angle happens, it's just on to the next
outrage
thing.
For their professional wrestling fiction certainly outweighs outrage for anything else.
Of course. So this happened on Friday, and we got a 0.80 rating on Cage Match, which I am wondering if Pat McAfee will bring up on his next SmackDown promo.
I think they should update us on the Cage Match rating for every edition of SmackDown going forward.
They have now introduced Cage Match. It's now part of AEW and WWE canon. For the sake of it, I looked this up. This is now the 8th lowest rated show of all time on Cage Match. Oh, it's down to a 0.79 now. So someone was actively voting on tonight.
Based off of 218 total votes, John. You know, that really is pretty much, forget Nielsen, forget Big Data Plus panel. These 218 people are really all you need.
Yeah. Does this screen grab make it onto the USA Network this Friday? Possible. Maybe Pat McAfee will show this on his show this week. This is the kind of synergy you're looking for, correct?
Of course, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in terms of this angle, I know a lot has been reported about this angle, and I did want to share kind of like what I've heard in the lead up to this as well. So 2 weeks ago was the Raw in Boston on March 23rd. And it was just before that Raw that I had first heard about this idea that Pat McAfee was going to be returning to programming and he would be revealed as the caller. Now, that night's Raw, it came and went, no Pat McAfee appearance. And if you remember, on that night, they announced that this Wednesday, Cody Rhodes will be on the Pat McAfee show to give his response to the angle with Randy Orton. That Wednesday came and went, and they announced that the segment did not happen on McAfee's show on that Wednesday. So I'm just, at the point, I'm just thinking like, stuff changes so rapidly. And it's one of my big reasons why I'm very hesitant to report on upcoming storylines, especially in this particular season. So the McAfee thing comes and goes. And then I am told that the McAfee thing is off and that it was supposed to be this big angle, and then all of a sudden McAfee is out, and I was told by one very reputable person that McAfee apparently pulled out last minute, and now they're trying to figure out how to pay off the phone call mystery person. So that I had heard later in the week, the last week of March. Friday comes, McAfee is revealed. I did not know in advance that the thing was back on, so McAfee is back, and it seems that I don't know the details yet about how this all came back together, but McAfee ends up in the angle. And they were even like making pitches about who would be the new mystery caller. So it got back to Pat McAfee, and that's where we are for this. I was told like this is Ari Emanuel that was the one pushing for McAfee's inclusion, and they had to incorporate that. And I mean, that has been reported elsewhere. It's what I was told, and it was basically used in Punk's promo tonight as well, and Cody's used in Cody's as well. So you're basically healing TKO, and by default, without naming him, Ari Emanuel as well in all of this.
Yeah.
Ari Emanuel is also a Attitude Era fan.
So just to clarify, you heard about Pat McAfee being the option as far back as when?
The Boston Raw. So that would have been 2 weeks ago today.
So 2 weeks ago, you heard about it.
Yes.
Okay. So was he the first choice, as far as you know?
As far as I know, yes.
So then what was Randy Orton meaning when he was referencing wrestling as only having more than one royal family?
I don't know what the reference is to that. Like, again, it's the only name I've ever heard attached to this. When they shot that, I can't tell you if they had any other ideas. I never heard Dwayne Johnson's name if people were thinking about that. This was the name I was told, but that was like 2 weeks ago. I know elsewhere had been reported that even before that, they had McAfee penciled in for this. So I can't tell you what they meant by that line, if it was just a misdirect, if it was Orton referring to himself. I don't know.
Yeah. What more is there to say about this angle? I feel like it's been safe to say that it's been universally panned in ways that I feel is even more hated than, Travis Scott's involvement at the end of WrestleMania last year. But now they're at the point now where they have to try to salvage it somehow. We saw a bit of that tonight. And I feel like the direction that they're trying to take it now is to put the blame on Ari Emanuel and TKO and washing their own creative hands out of it. And I wonder how well they'll do.
I think it's a real mess. I thought that the segment on Friday, I thought Cody came off looking so impotent during that segment where, I mean, this is the guy that was just painted as being so uncool. And you have Pat McAfee, who was both like the surrogate of Ari Emanuel, but is also the one that is trying to appeal to like this hardcore wrestling fan that wishes it were back in the glory days. Now, I will say I at least like the fact that Cody got to come out later and at least point out that business is pretty great right now and at least somewhat rebut this. And that's very low praise for what was a disastrous angle. And I just thought like so much of this.
I don't think that helped, John. Like, as soon as you are playing defense, you end up looking, I think, just as silly, Like, it's not, it's a line that...
Is it worse than he just gets railroaded as like business is bad and this guy is the representation of this uncool product?
I guess I don't know if like directly answering for it is any better because you just continue to keep it alive rather than just like maybe having it swept over and not really talked about anymore. But like Cody having to defend and be like, hey guys, everybody, we're actually doing really well. I think that makes him kind of look just as bad.
I mean, you could. I also think it really encapsulates of just how a lot of this mindset is still stuck in a period of wrestling that we are so far removed from that I think a lot of your audience is from. And I mean, it goes beyond like this period of wrestling is one that, yeah, for a certain audience, like that is their lifeblood of this industry is those couple of years. And certainly they see a market in it. It's the whole aim of their next video game. It's the Monday Night Wars. But dude, we are 25 years removed from this. Like when the Disco Inferno line got no pop, I thought that was really notable of your audience as well. Like how many people in this audience on Friday night like are familiar with Disco Inferno? Like to me, it's a creative direction that is very much in a wrestling bubble. And
when you say creative direction, how much of that line was written for Cody and how much of it do you think it was Cody himself?
I mean, I'm painting this as like a collaborative process and Cody included here. If this was his line to use or not, like that's the thinking is that, well, this line's going to kill. It's like a real misread of your audience.
Yeah. I mean, I Cody Rhodes is... So I think a lot of maybe that promo and maybe Pat McAfee's promo is somewhat shaped by modern day online discourse, which features a Disco Inferno as, like a very, I would say at least notable, online commenter who still pops up from time to time. And as far as McAfee goes, I guess there are still people out there who like often romanticize the Attitude Era, but I think that's almost just such a base level sort of like, like at this point he's talking about 50-year-olds, who might still romanticize that part of professional wrestling that aren't watching week to week. And there's still so much about the McAfee promo itself that confuses me. Like, what was the idea? Was he simply instructed to cut a heel promo? And his idea for turning heel is to play the role of some sort of like, disconnected fan who, and what do disconnected fans feel?
Disconnected fan who hates small wrestlers going for long periods of time while also being on Cage Match. It's like
these are things that he I understand could believe would fit the antithesis of what the online modern fan likes, which is 5'5" guys wrestling 45-minute Iron Man matches, and maybe, I don't know, maybe doesn't care about Attitude Era nostalgia quite as much. Like, these are meant to be heelish lines.
Yeah, but I don't think a whole lot of people, when you're bringing up like Austin and The Rock, like I don't think that is heelish. I think that recognizes.
That's why it was very confusing.
Like there's a whole.
What is he appealing to?
Like there's definitely a huge sentiment of fans that are very much against this more corporatized version of WWE, that the ticket prices are a part of it, and that, you know, that you see these fans that are like defenders of Vince McMahon. Like that's what they are. Defend, like Vince McMahon would never do this, and pine for the days when this company was representative of that period. But like, again, we're not talking about like 8 or 9 year olds that are gonna miss out on these references. Like, you could be a university graduate and you weren't alive when the Monday Night Wars ended. And I just feel like it's a period that is so exhausted, and to bring it up that like these were the glory days. And I think you will have an audience that at the end of it, it just painted Cody as so uncool. And it's almost like this guy is like, this is our TKO avatar. And yet Pat McAfee is literally being represented as that, but is speaking of like the hardcore older wrestling fan that has outgrown this product.
Yeah. I suppose in you know, maybe,
and Randy is a red hot babyface as a result of all of this.
Or Cody, you're speaking of Cody specifically referencing what, the NWO, Hall Nash, and thereby Disco Inferno. Like that's Cody's reference to the Attitude Era or Monday Night Wars.
No, I'm more talking like the opening segment where McAfee cuts
you're talking about
promo,
McAfee.
that Cody just came off as just.
I see.
I just think so uncool with that audience of the way he was painted, and that I really think there's going to be just that Orton is going to continue to get these reactions, and I think Cody is really going to struggle in this way that they are going with this direction.
I think everybody just ended up looking bad. You know, you took what I think was initially like a program that was starting off pretty well. You know, like this mystery of the phone call thing, I feel like added a bit of intrigue to it all, but I thought it was completely derailed once you had the McAfee element, which in of itself was already disappointing. But the content of his promo made things even worse. Cody's rebuttal referencing Ari Emanuel, I thought made things even worse. So to me, it just completely fell off a cliff after that. And I do wonder what the play is from this point on. We got some glimpse of it tonight. Again, I feel like their play now is to have the baby faces continue maybe this sort of work shoot thing. Like Pat McAfee, you can argue.
Oh, I think they're certainly going to go into this.
You can argue to them, they might even be happy with the Pat McAfee reaction because he is now arguably the biggest heel in this main event mix. And they might choose to play that up. You know, and by extension, healing TKO attached to Pat McAfee and thereby attached to Randy Orton as a way to create a new sort of corporation against these babyfaces.
So TKO is the evil entity, and to get into this, go buy our overpriced tickets by our own definition.
Well, they're going to do a sale. Because of the storyline reason is because CM Punk willed it into existence.
Maybe Cody will slash prices on SmackDown this Friday. Maybe that's going to be what he does in San Jose.
He will maybe continue another chance. And yeah, I mean, they're going to do sales anyway, but this is just an interesting way of announcing it, I suppose.
Yes. A buy one, get one free stipulation match on Friday. I think that would be a great idea.
Oh, yeah. If Cody
and let's not forget Jelly Roll. Like, I am sure Jelly Roll is going to get involved in this after, you know, he was laid out by Randy as well. Like, I guess
so. I would feel bad for any celebrity who might be attached because they're catching a lot of residual heat from this whole Pat McAfee thing.
Well, it's also going to be very interesting because I only saw a bit of like McAfee's like handling of it on his show today, and like he's just playing up like the character on his show, and that's going to be really weird for the promotion you want to be getting on ESPN through the lead up of WrestleMania. Part of it is this guy like pumping up your show, and you're doing this deal where it's like WWE sucks right now. Randy Orton is going to save.
Is he actively doing that part of the gimmick on his show?
I mean,
I guess he has to, right? That's the story.
he's kind of like he's just putting over like Randy Orton, or this like the great savior. But
There's a way you can say like the show, the product Cody Rhodes is leading is not a good direction for the WWE to be led in, and I have the antidote here in Randy Orton. I feel like there's a way to cut that promo without making the product actively look bad. He did not do that on Friday, though, unfortunately.
again, there are a lot of ways you could have incorporated Pat McAfee. If he was thrust into your plans, like you have to include Pat McAfee, and it goes beyond just being in a commentator role, and they chose something that it just feels is it almost feels like it's just destined for failure, and it gets more into like, is this just like it's really bizarre, the entire lead up to all of this.
My further question is, how will the narrative around this storyline be documented following WrestleMania? How will this be covered on Unreal? How will they, behind the curtain, all this?
Well, yeah, now that you've almost introduced it on the show, it's like, can you tell a story on Unreal that this is your master idea when you've basically said this is an Ari Emanuel idea with your own characters stating this. And
Bruce Pritchard will say, you know what, the fans spoke, we listened to the fans, we adjusted. Sometimes you gotta change course, like whatever thing he'll say.
We overpriced these tickets. Maybe they're just going to put it all on like Mark Shapiro.
Yeah.
He overpriced the tickets. Maybe that's the way they go. Tomorrow, they are going to be announcing the night 1 and night 2 lineups on ESPN's Get Up. So we will see where everything is slotted, and I think everyone sees what the 2 nights of main events will be, and also like what is going to take on those 1 hour ESPN portions as well.
How soon do they announce the sale? The CM Punk sale.
Yeah. Best sale in the world.
That's right. Code word pipe.
Maybe
bomb.
Joe Tessitore announces this tomorrow on ESPN.
I feel like announcing the card at the same time as whatever promo code you want, to drive further tickets.
Listen, since this big Pat McAfee angle and all the talking got, like WrestleTix latest update, like it's not like tickets moved after Friday, like at all. So that certainly, and that's the part, is that everyone is going to, and granted, like this creative is falling off a cliff at this point, but I am never going to say like the creative, like this ticketing issue is a direct result of creative. This is a response of, I think, a lot of factors that we have gone over many, many times. And I think it's very lazy to just say, well, it's been a bad WrestleMania build. No, it's an event that you have greatly overpriced.
It has something to do with it. I wouldn't completely wash it away. I think the bigger problem is the fact that they waited so long to announce several of these main events.
They've announced a lot of this. Like they had Punk and Reigns announced immediately after.
Okay, what else?
I mean, these matches have been like laid out.
Not Cody and Randy.
I mean, we knew about that from the Elimination Chamber. Like we're talking that was 5 weeks ago. We had.
That's not that much time for somebody to make plans for WrestleMania.
Well, how much earlier, do you expect it's the same timeline every year.
Yeah.
You always have an Elimination Chamber. You always have a Rumble. I mean, it's Brock and Oba was like a month ago. But listen, I think number one has been the pricing. I think for a lot of people, it's like if they went to Vegas last year, they're not going back again. Like there's a lot of factors. I'm not saying creative is not one of them. Like this has been a really erratic build. They have made tons of changes along the way. I think that they have been very responsive to this wall they hit. Like they pretty much moved like 36,000 tickets, and they've just kind of stayed. Like it's shown a little bit. They're basically at 40 each night, and like that's just the wall that they have hit. And they've done all these sales. One of them made a difference, but all these other things you're doing, and then now you're actively advertising that like the ticket sales are bad. And that would be the last thing I would be broadcasting to my audience. Like this show isn't selling well. That's the takeaway from any fan that is not following WrestleTix.
Yeah, I think Pat just cut a really bad promo. And if it was vetted in any sort of way, that's who you really have to question, about who might actually be in charge.
It is WrestleMania month at postwrestling.com. Wei Ting and John Pollock go live all WrestleMania week beginning Monday, April the 13th. Sign up for the Post Wrestling Cafe and you will get live shows all week long leading into our coverage that weekend of WrestleMania 42. This month we're also bringing you reviews of Spring Break 2 from New Orleans in 2018 and a special Patrons Pick edition of Rewind Away. Sign up now at postwrestlingcafe.com, and this month new subscribers get 50% off for the first month. Head on over to postwrestlingcafe.com.